fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's Thursday, July the 6th, 2023, and I hope you had an enjoyable 4th of July Tuesday. Weird one. Couldn't really extend the weekend so much. A lot of folks had to work a little bit on Monday. I did. But I do know some friends who were able to bundle this unique holiday or uniquely situated holiday to take the entire week off to spend at the Jersey Shore, and overall, it's looking like a pretty solid week to do so. Now, the weather prognosticators throwing darts against the board again, offering chances of rain through the weekend ahead. Chance of rain, but a chance of sun. It's like a 50-50 kind of thing. And you're looking at it based on this past weekend, where it was much nicer than it wasn't. It was much nicer than it was predicted. You can't completely rely on the folks standing in front of the blue screen on TV in Philadelphia, New York to tell you 100% what it's going to be like for the weekend. So you roll the dice, you adapt, you improvise, and you plan to fish until you can. Now, on the midweek forecast from NOAA Weather on the inshore grounds for the weekend ahead, it's looking like mostly light winds through Sunday afternoon, seeing some southeasterlies at this point in the summer forecast, but nothing to indicate that any of that colder bottom temperature is going to come from that upwelling. You know, that upwelling we got a lot of last year. The southeasterlies left the bottom temperatures really cold. We shall monitor that right now. But again, what we're looking at in the forecast for the next several days doesn't look like stiff southeasterlies. Offshore, things are looking good for folks planning on pressing east in search of tuna in the days ahead. And I'm betting that this is the week, this weekend, this whole week that we determine whether or not a solid tuna month is here with us in the month of July. And I think it will be. Did get a few solid offshore reports this week at thefisherman.com in Tom P's regular offshore fishing forecast or offshore reports column. You can get that every week at thefisherman.com. Talk to some folks who are offshore and also mid-range that seem to do pretty well. Jim Peters texted me over the weekend saying the area around the Haskell proved productive. Lines in 6 a.m. I believe that was on Saturday morning. They were doubled up pretty soon after that. He called it a, quote, epic beatdown on yellowfin. 5-man limit as the Tuna Express enters the station for the month of July. Lock it in. 12-year-old Evan Pulaski, he got into the game aboard J.P. Dollick's Flying Tiger out of Brielle, trolling around the Hudson Dip. In addition to this little guy, for Evan, he and his crew had about a dozen other fish from 30 to 40 pounds trolling bars and ballyhoo. I'm hoping to see that jig bite really materialize something special this week. I've got a friend of mine heading out on Friday, and I'm hoping Tuna Express stops by the front door. We shall see. Trolling is working. And hopefully we'll see a little bit of a topwater bite on those yellowfin, both mid-range. I keep saying mid-range, you know where those areas are. Like I mentioned, the Haskell before, on out to the offshore grounds. 30, 40-pound tuna now. 30, 40-pound stripers, the ones that we had at the Jersey Shore through the first couple of weeks in June, they're pretty much gone at this point. Moving north, northeast, out towards Montauk and Block and throughout New England waters. But I will remind you that the state of New Jersey did send official word this past Sunday, July 2nd, that the new one fish at 28 to 31 inch size limit is officially in place in time for the ASMFC July 2nd deadline. That's all the states, New York and Delaware, our 3-state conglomerate right there. It's all the same, 28 to 31 inches, except for in the Hudson, the upper stretches, and also you have that special summer slot on the Delaware Bay out of the state of Delaware. But the 28 to 31 inch coastal limits are in place. And some folks are happy, but most of the folks that I've spoken to for hire, tackle shops, manufacturers, a lot of folks just aren't happy about this. It's not so much that the idea that anybody wants to kill more stripers, But it's the idea that ASMFC came up with this decision and said, this is the only thing we can do. We have to do it immediately. And if that's what it's going to take, then I think most people are in support. But really what folks are upset about at this point is no public process, no warning, no public participation. And that's what's left a bunch of folks chafed at the whole idea that this was really just a mandate without any input. And some folks are wondering if there's not some type of deeper ideological battle at this point. Is it going from 3 inches to catch and release? I'm not sure, but that is what we have now. We will find out more in the fall. The ASMFC meets in August, but they will meet again in the fall, and I'm sure they're going to take up this discussion. One trophy striper guy I know has already changed up his tactics and is focusing on the striped bass cousin up the rivers, the creeks, the tributaries that feed out into the bays. Yeah, Bob, no country for old striper men, I guess. But if you're looking for tasty victuals, right, you can't go wrong with summer flounder or fluke, whichever part of the state of New Jersey you're in. Upper stretches of Barnegat Bay over the weekend. Even this blind squirrel got a nut. Caught this 26-incher early Saturday morning on the incoming, probably a 6 or 7 pound flatty. I never weighed it out. But that was caught on a Tin Man Lures floating jig head on the top with a yellow firetail gulp, and I had that above my Magic Tails, bucktail, and gulp combination as well. After I had 26 inches in the box, I did another couple of drifts, and I said, what do I want, a 17-incher? I'm done for the day. I had enough food for the rest of the weekend. Water temps at the time Saturday morning, like I said, on that incoming tide, around 75 degrees. But found a couple of fish on the outgoing late Monday afternoon, and that's when I had water temperatures up over 80 degrees. Now that's something we should be paying attention to as we continue through in the month of July, because obviously when those back bay waters start to really warm up on a regular basis, once the ocean water temperatures are well into the 70s as well, and that's going to be the incoming as well, that water in the back gets so warm. That's when we start looking towards the inlets, the deeper holes, and offshore for fluke. But for right now, the action continues in all of those bays. Barnegat Bay, Great Bay, all the way down into Atlantic, South Jersey, Cape May County, Ludlam, Rainbow Channel. You still have your shot at those back bay flatties at this point. But the summer flounder are still there. That's what I want to say. In fact, 8-year-old Frankie Rose Beckett was also fishing the upper Barnegat Bay sometime this past weekend. I wonder if we drifted by each other, Frankie. On the jig, all by herself. Nice fluke for Frankie. Well done. Dennis Wader got him by bulkhead, Manasquan Inlet. A 3.5 pounder for a nice fluke dinner on a spearing with a pink teaser up top. I just can't wait. Dinner is fantastic. Told you a few weeks ago, I've been egg yolk, an egg bath, and some panko crust, and I'm using my wife's air fryer. She doesn't like to fry fish inside, and I'm fine with it. The air fryer's doing the number on it. Definitely highly recommend that. But at some point soon, also the Jersey tomatoes are going to start getting ripe. It's my favorite time of year. Fresh fluke and Jersey tomatoes. Nothing is finer. And again, keep in mind that things turn on now along the artificial reefs as well. That's been going on for a couple of weeks. The headboats that are running out of all the ports at the Jersey Shore, going and working the sticky stuff and doing quite well. In fact, Austin here let the folks at Sea Isle Bait and Tackle know that the bite was on at the reef sites down there. Quote, chewing like mad dogs at the reef. Love to hear that. Now you can stay on top of the latest weekly reports from thefisherman.com. We do them every Sunday and Monday. Just go to thefisherman.com. We update the statewide reports down into Delaware every Monday. In fact, if you go to fishing reports, select your region. For example, South Jersey. Anthony Califano does our South Jersey report, and he said this week, quote, while many more short fish are being caught in the bays and behind the barrier islands, the keeper ratio still seems to be quite high for this time of year. Offshore, the wrecks and reefs are producing the largest of the fish being caught, including some 9-pounders last week for boaters out of Cape May, which is good news, of course. Anthony also said, even with all the attention being soaked up by our summer flounder fishery, there are still plenty of other options right now, including kingfish, croakers, triggerfish, sheepshead, and again, Anthony corroborated that. He said the tuna bite along the southern canyons is starting to intensify as well. Now, if you want an edge on your fluking competition this weekend, especially on those deep water reefs, I highly recommend Fish Bites.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to Fish Bites.
Do have a New Jersey reef update for you. The folks at the Beach Haven Charter Fishing Association deployed yet another piece of material to the local reef structure last week. This old boat, now in her new home at the Barnegat Light Reef site, the Tires. Word is that the developments at Little Egg that the Beach Haven guys had done a couple of years ago, they're already paying dividends. There's already life out there, and black sea bass have set up as well. So don't forget, you do have that single black sea bass bag limit in the mix here in New Jersey, July and August. I pretty much call it a bycatch fishery at this point. But if you're coming in from doing a little bit of fluking and you want to stick the sticky stuff and get a couple of rigs down there, maybe slow pitch rigs, make it fun, one black sea bass is back in the mix for you. A goodly number of sheepshead there for the taking at the bridges, rubble, the wooden day beacons. Go collect your own fiddlers or sand crabs. To tip on the business end of that tog jig, bottom sweeper, the Magic Tails tog jig, the Tsunami tog jig. You can use calicos, you can harvest them yourself. Shedder crab, of course. Took a stroll on the boardwalk last week with family. Couldn't help but think about how these beautiful hermit crabs they sell to the tourists, I bet you they would look good at the end of a tog jig. I might try that at the end of the summer if they're starting to clear out those pens. Fluke is the fish of the month in the Fisherman magazine's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. That's open to our subscribers. We're giving away a Steiger center console, a Yamaha outboard, a Minn Kota, just incredible packages. And there are prizes all across the board, so you don't even have to compete for the boat. I'd love for you to do it. But as long as you're on the board as a subscriber at the end of the year, you're going to win something. We have Scott Sevens and a fluke, appropriately enough. That is our cover guy on that July edition of the magazine. You'll find, if you go to the table of contents in the glossy section, 5 full features, including my Striper Quest rundown, a summer clamming article by Matt Broderick. Alex Friedman explains how to interpret whale behavior offshore. Dave Anderson with a spotlight on the summer surf, and of course Captain John Raguso, as always, and he provides input on gearing up for another offshore season. Now, if you turn into the July edition local section for New Jersey, you'll also find another table of contents with 5 more feature stories. Working the sticky stuff, what we just talked about. South Jersey's Frank Mahalik talks about working the reefs. For Fluke, Captain Johnny Luchka talking about pot hopping mahi. Another couple of weeks, I think the temperature is going to be up where we want it. And that'll be about the time to get working on those lobster pots, those high flyers. Freshwater spotlight on tiger muskies in the state of New Jersey by Tom P. And Nick Konacheski talking to Coach Jimmy Johnson of the Dallas, of the Dallas, he's a football coach for some team. Anyway, you've got Quest for the Ring coming up in Atlantic City. I believe that's next week, in the next couple of weeks. And of course, I've got the state of New Jersey's debacle, is the only way I could say it without cursing, the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council and the timeline of neglect. Pick that up in that July edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's probably important to mention this week that New Jersey legislators worked right up until the deadline on Friday on the fiscal year 2024 budget. And that is important for fishermen because during all this chaos, somewhere along the line before the budget was signed right into the new fiscal year, Governor Murphy sacked Tom Foti as his attaché to the ASMFC, replaced him with commercial fishing industry lobbyist Jeff Kalin. I will have more on that in a future edition of the Fisherman magazine in a couple of weeks. And I will let you know when that gets posted. But again, if you want to read more about this fiasco, because Jeff Kalin is mentioned in here, as well as another person who would have made a great ASMFC person for us in the state of New Jersey, but read the July edition, take it into account. Next week's edition also has news about Icast. That's where I'll be. More on that amazing tackle event in Orlando and an update with Jenny Ackerman. But first, let's take a look at what's happening in the Sweetwater with my man George, the Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, much like many of you guys at home, enjoying some time in this 4th of July week, getting out and doing a little fishing myself, hopefully. So I hope you guys are out and getting some too. Some things you can get out on that seem to be working well now after all this rain we've been having over the past week. The sun's finally coming out, enjoying drying things out a bit, so hopefully that should help for the coming weekend. Some things to get out on. Jen Wong checked in from Jersey. He was out doing some bass fishing, showing us how those jerk baits work really well year round, so maybe get out and try some of that pattern if you're out in New Jersey. Maybe like Tom Gilmore, he was out at Delaware Water Gap, check out some tiger muskie. Believe it or not, that's always a good bite there. If you can get them, they're very hard to catch. We know how those muskie are, but great work there, Tom. I hope you guys try to get out some of the muskie as well, but just be careful because the higher water temperatures, that mortality rate is very high when you try to release those fish this time of year. Also, we have Logan Bloomfield putting the smackdown on some of these Susquehanna River smallmouth. He's out there fishing topwater, so you can see beautiful smallmouth this time of year, and I think you can get them pretty much year round on the river. Some great fishing out there if you get the chance. But also 6-year-old Salvador Brigantini was out catching some of these smallmouth on Wallem Pompack, and what a beast this is. A 24-inch smallie, caught on live bait. He's actually fishing some shiners for this and managed to get what I'm going to call my pick of the week for this photo here. So great work there, Salvador. Guys, I hope you get out on too. Finally some sunshine to dry some of this sogginess out, so get out and get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
This week we had 4 fluke hit the top 10. Ciro Tedisco of West Babylon, New York started the bidding with this 7.26 pounder, landing him in 9th place. Laurie Crinchin of Holtzville, New York had this awesome 8.8 pounder that was good enough for 7th place. John Wallace from Cobalt, Connecticut stands in 6th place with this flatfish that weighed in at 9 pounds even. And the biggest fluke of the week belongs to Michael Carbone of Berlin, New Jersey. This 4th place beast weighed in at 10.25 pounds. The most important fish of the week was this 15.52 pound 3rd place bluefish caught by Bobby Cifarelli of Branford, Connecticut. This gator bluefish launches Bobby into the lead spot in the contest. The top 3 looks like this. Luke Citrarelli drops to 3rd place with 18 points. Eddie Terrabile falls into 2nd place with 21 points. And Bobby Cifarelli leads the world with 25 overall points. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new 21-foot Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Visit thefisherman.com to subscribe and get all the details so you can be part of the action.
From Tuesday through Friday, July 11th to 14th, I will be in Orlando, Florida, the hottest place on earth, not happiest. That's Icast 2023 Long Island Edition editor Matt Broderick and myself will be there with video camera, coming back with news of the latest tackle releases for 2023 and into 2024. As we do every year, Matt and I are going down there from booth to booth, and we're finding out the latest stuff from Penn and Shimano and Daiwa and Okuma and everything that we can find, sometimes brand new manufacturers. I'll be meeting the folks, the Jersey folks from Tsunami down there. They've got some new tackle to talk about. So we're going to come back and invariably have 2 video segments a week in addition to this one, talking about some of the new product, the hottest new products from tackle manufacturers all over the world. So while Matt and I document photos, videos, all that good stuff, the rest of our production staff at the Fisherman magazine will be responsible for packaging all of that up to share with all of you. So with that, let's check in with the Fisherman magazine's media coordinator, Jenny Ackerman, on Open Boat.
Hey everyone, Jenny here. Welcome back to Open Boat. And today I'm going to be talking about something a little further south from our normal waters. It's called Icast. It's in Orlando, Florida, and it's from July 11th to the 14th. And Icast is the premier trade show where companies reveal their latest products and showcase new products to their target audience, fishermen like you. Fisherman magazine crew will be there to give you viewers the inside scoop on the biggest sports fishing trade show. Come along with the Fisherman crew, check out the exhibit, meet with sponsors, and report on new products in the showcase. Comment down below to see what products you want to see the Fisherman magazine show off at the Icast showcase. It could be a new reel, a new trolling motor, it could be anything. Personally, I want to see what new lures the companies have come out with, because clearly I don't have enough. Back to you, Jim.
Hey, if you're land-based this weekend, fluking in the surf is getting pretty hot. Plenty of solid reports up and down the Jersey Shore at this point. Piper, Major, and Logan here checked in with the folks at Grumpy's over the weekend with a nice haul at Island Beach on Gulp. Don't forget, Island Beach, when you're fishing from shore there, it's 2 at 16 inches. They don't have to be 16, they could be 18. You can get 2 at 23. Whatever, but that gives you that special dispensation. Same as you get similar with the 3 at 17 down on Delaware Bay in New Jersey. Everybody else, it's the slot. The 2 in the slot, 17 to 18 inches, and 1 at 18 and above. Now to the north, Bobby Matthews at Fisherman's Den in Belmar said, quote, "The boys on the beach have had some decent bass fishing with sand crabs as bait." That's a tactic that I would like to, I'd like to cover more. Coming up sometime in the next few weeks. When I get back from Icast, I plan on joining a friend in the surf and talking about mole crabs and how to fish them. It is definitely an effective way to catch stripers right off the sides of the edges, you know, right where the shallows, the sandbar leads off into a deep hole, but it's especially effective in Island Beach. The less swimmers you have, the better opportunities you have to score. But you do also have kingfish in the suds at this point, taking squid, clam, worm, fish bites, bag of worm perhaps, especially in the southern part of the state, Atlantic and Cape May County down along into Delaware and along the Delaware coast as well. Now those Sheepshead reports, boats yes, piers like Longport of course, but also along the Atlantic City jetties, according to Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle. We do have a growing sheepshead fishery. It's only a matter of time before it continues all the way up into North Jersey, but for now, Southern Ocean County, Atlantic, Cape May County, it is definitely a targetable species. Don't forget about crabbing too, especially after this past weekend's super moon. Expect things to really heat up out back along those bulkheads now. A lot of folks are putting out their own traps. Make sure you have those turtle excluders, but you can put out your own pots. Just you don't want to have them out during the weekend because you'll never see them again. But you can also score down at the bulkheads. And I know this, summertime, if you think about growing up here, or when you were a kid, you did a lot of snapper fishing, you did a lot of crabbing along the back. Well, now a lot of shops, a lot of tackle shops along the coast, like Surf City Bait and Tackle on LBI, have season-long crabbing contests, which are absolutely fantastic for the kids who spend their days out along the piers and bulkheads every day during the summer. Stop in and check that out. But I definitely think it's time for that crab feast. And again, tomatoes almost. Jersey corn, it's in. Month of blueberries, take advantage of it while you can, but do not miss a season of crabbing in the New Jersey, Delaware region. Now on page 10 of the July edition of the Fisherman magazine, you'll find our complete calendar of events for the month. Do it in there every week, every month, every week. I'm always trying to pack that calendar with as much as I can find so that anglers know what's going on in the state, in the region throughout the month. For example, this Saturday, you have 3 tournaments coming up that I know about that are in the magazine. July 8th, you've got the Ladies Catch of the Day Fishing Tournament. That's presented by the Women's Club of the Forked River Tuna Club. You've got the 26th Annual Fishing Tournament and Family Fun Day, based out of Parkertown Volunteer Fire Company in Little Egg Harbor. Also up north, the Raritan Bay Anglers Club, their annual fluke tournament. All the numbers, the phone numbers that you need, they're on the screen. Give them a shout. But again, pick up that July edition of the Fisherman magazine. Better yet, subscribe. That way you are in contention for the Fisherman magazine's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. You get all the reports, the tactical advice, everything you need to know to score at the Jersey Shore and beyond this summer. Again, next week's video fishing forecast comes to you from the floor of Icast, the international tackle show in Orlando, Florida. Look for regular product spotlights from myself and Matt Broderick after we get back. Soon after we return, next Friday night, and I believe the videos will start on Tuesday. 2 more video features a week as we try to keep you dialed in on the latest, greatest equipment from the world of recreational fishing. Until then, catch 'em up, and I hope to see you out there this weekend.